trombone quartet is very busy, which is fun. But
with what?
A lot of nursing homes. We did 7 Christmas concerts.
Good for you.
And I think it was almost 30 concerts for the whole year.
Okay.
Performances. But then, I don't know. I'm looking for, I've been here for 3 years now, and I really miss playing in strong, large ensembles.
Mm-hmm.
And my large ensemble here is the Foothills Pops Band, or concert symphonic band now, which is, they're good, but,
yeah.
It's not, I went to St. Olaf College, and I'm kind of used to
right.
harder stuff that I have to really work for. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you're looking, so you specifically mentioned the Fort Collins sublist.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, that's January 19th?
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else coming up?
Not really. No.
Okay.
I guess I'm gonna play for, I think, UNC's musical. I've played a couple years for the Fort Collins Children's Theater, and that's been really fun, actually. Pit music is obviously hard and really engaging. So
okay.
And so hopefully that, and then I'd like to get on other sub lists around, but busy with work still, so I'm starting Fort Collins, and hopefully we'll see how that goes. And I've been on the sub list for the Wind Symphony for 3 years, and I've never heard anything from it ever. So I don't know what the Fort Collins Symphony is like, if maybe I get on the sub list, but there's 5 concerts a year or something. So
right.
Probably other players on the sub list already.
Yeah, for sure, but that doesn't. But you're doing it correctly.
Right.
The good news also is what we're gonna do today is this will already, just to get to know you, is kind of not just for Fort Collins, but for Cheyenne and for the Miami Symphony, and so these are the things that you should do.
Yeah.
If you were looking to play, then go play with the players, right? And just ask them. So this is exactly the right type of thing.
Yeah.
It's if you want to, play with the Colorado Symphony, it's you need to. John Cypher needs to know that you exist.
Right.
And even if the idea is you go and play for them, it's you obviously want to do well, but you come back and give them an update.
Right.
Which, by the way, is what I did. And that's how things move. And if and when they happen, it's great. But yeah, I mean, have you worked with any of the other guys?
No, this is my first lessons in school.
Well, good for you. Yeah. Well, then I'm honored you chose me.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. After meeting you, I want to go back to grad school at some point, but I feel like I'm going to be very picky with who I go to grad school with. I have an amazing teacher. I really prioritize the mental aspect of music.
Right.
And I had an amazing teacher in high school, an amazing teacher in college, and I'm scared of jumping into the grad school world and then going somewhere where I maybe don't get along super well with the people around me. So, yeah.
Well, that's possible, but you've already said the most important thing about that is the teacher.
Right.
And so that's you're already very prudent about that kind of process, because it's you should go to work with somebody, one who does what you want to do.
Right.
That's really important, right? Because they figured out how to do it.
Yeah.
And then you have to know if you can work with them.
Right.
So if you have an opportunity, if you're considering getting a master's degree in performance, I assume.
Right.
It's okay, well, take a lesson with them.
Yeah.
Because they might be a great player, but you might not respond well to how they teach.
Right.
You're auditioning them as much as they're auditioning you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's smart. So what's all things being the same, what's the ultimate goal?
Honestly,
you can have anything. Jay Friedman retires today and an audition's held, and you want to principal Chicago?
In a dream world where there's no other trombone players, yes, but I don't think that I will end up being a healthy player if I hold myself to the standard that of like a top orchestra. Like, I don't think I want to be in the position where I need to be one of the top 50 players in the U.S.
Okay.
I would love to go to grad school and see where that takes me, and you know, have some seat in some regional orchestra and work. I'm a software engineer and I really love my job,
right,
and just keep on doing that, but then have some outlet of really high level music is totally the goal, I think.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, that's and that's important too, is like being able to define your goals.
Right.
Starts to define the path.
Yeah.
Right. And by the way, I appreciate already just that, like, a level of self-awareness. Like, I know when Jay retires, I'm not going to audition for Chicago Symphony.
Right.
Like, no.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I'm aware. And sometimes younger students are.
I think it was really healthy. You know, I graduated in 21 and I've been working in software since then. And I think it was like a really healthy step back from the music world and being totally like inside of that little sphere.
Right.
And it's been really nice to take a step back and like say, like, you know, no matter how well I play Tomasi, like, I'm still gonna walk tomorrow. It's like,
right.
You know.
Right. For sure. No, well, I think that's really good. So are you not just for concert? Are you actively looking for graduate programs?
Not like super. I'm not like this coming year, but my kind of long-term goal is try to do not this summer, but next summer, to a festival, and then depending on how that experience is, deciding whether or not I want to go do grad school. Like 6 weeks of intensive, 4 to 6 weeks of intensive playing. Like, if I don't have a good time, then I probably don't want to go to grad school. You know. So.
See, again, man, this puts you ahead of the pack. Like, so you did your undergrad in sophomore.
Double major. Yeah.
Double software and music.
Yep.
In performance.
Yep.
Okay.
Not performance, just BA.
Okay.
Music. But
Still.
I did all the performance requirements except theory.
Okay.
Because I was taking hour lessons and doing all that stuff and playing in a ton of groups, but I was also doing my software stuff.
Okay.
So otherwise it would have been a 5-year degree, and I wasn't super into that.
Gotcha. No, but I think that's great. So let's do some playing. Why don't you warm up a little bit?
Cool.
Play a few notes. So I assume you have the excerpts for Collins.
Just 3 of them.
Do you have anything else?
I have Tomasi with me. I have a ton of stuff on my. I have a ton of music on my iPad.
Can I request, like, do you have a like a favorite Bordoni or something?
Yeah, not on here, but if you have a book.
Because I since we're just getting to know each other a little bit, I'd love to just hear you play before starting to dig into
absolutely
some of the things. Well, Tomasi's great too, but that's still kind of the same thing. Let's just play some easy, simple music first. I think would be good. First generation iPad still works, but it just like takes.
I just got this for the musical. I got the little flick button as a page turner. Which I don't know if you've seen what it is.
What?
Page turner.
No,
right there.
That's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Pretty sweet. It's really nice.
And it just clips onto your trombone. Yep. Is it supposed to be?
It's like someone just 3D prints them, sells them on Etsy, and then I just put some it's pretty sweet.
That is pretty sweet. Yeah. I'd never heard of that.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. Everyone with the pedals and like it burns too many calories.
Yeah, right.
It's too much work to move my foot. I'm also not that coordinated. It'd be a bit too much for me.
That's really funny. Do I have the Bordeaux on here? I should. Oh, for crying out loud. Here, I tell you.
I'm sure I can probably find something here too. There's how about I think I love the. Do I have it on here? Yeah. Can I play a part of the second movement of the de Meij?
Oh, sure.
Since that's pretty.
The T-bone concerto?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds fine. Yeah. I like that piece too.
It's gorgeous. It's so good. We'll just go from. I'll just do the beginning to the opening section of the second movement.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. Go for it. This piece too.
It's gorgeous.
I remember.
It's so good.
I remember. I think it came out when I was in my undergrad, and I remember saying that I really like this, and my teacher was like, "Really, the T-bone concerto? What are you talking about?
It's so good.
It's so pretty.
It's one of my favorites, yeah.
I think maybe it's just because the movements are
right,
rare, medium, and well done. They think that it's like.
Yeah.
No, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
You sound great, man. Like, so really nice sound, a good sense of pitch. I noticed that you articulate every single note. And not a natural slur guy. Was it? Are you...
Yeah, that's.
So there's two schools of thought. Like, and I'm just telling you an observation. I know some people who articulate every note.
I definitely tongue instead of just pure natural slur. Yeah,
right.
I added a little bit of.
I'm much, and we'll talk about this. The reason why I definitely try and keep all of my natural slurs because I think on the trombone, the natural slur is the most beautiful slur that we can have.
Right.
The second reason is because our valve friends, they all use natural slurs too. Right? They don't articulate every single note. And so it's like, we kind of want to make sure that we all have at least as much in common as we possibly can. And obviously on the trombone, they've got, the valves will dictate articulation on the same partial, right? Whereas that's where we have to put our da articulation. So it's not completely the same, but the natural slurs, I think, are a good thing to keep. In fact, I'd love for all of this, let's see if we can make this just be just a little bit easier for you. One thing that I love to do in my own practice is just gliss a whole lot because that lets us kind of relax on the exhalation. I got this, like, my kind of teaching approach. I've got this metaphor where why would you want to learn how to drive a car?
Gets places.
Gets places. Perfect answer, right? And so when we learn how to drive a car, they'll take us places. These are our musical vehicles. When we learn how to drive them, they'll take us places too.
Sure.
Back to our actual car. What are the two most important things in the vehicle?
The wheels and the steering wheel.
Both very important. Not the most important. Even more important than the wheels. Engine's one of them. Yes, engine's one.
The pedals.
More important than the pedals. I'll give you a hint. It's really expensive right now.
Gas.
Gas.
There we go.
Yeah. If you don't put fuel in your car, you could have a V12 powerful engine, but it's not going to go anywhere. Right. You could, if you don't have an engine, you fill it up with fuel. It's also not going to go anywhere. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason why, yes, wheels are important, but could you technically put like tank treads on it?
Right.
Or even if they're square wheels,
right.
like South Park, right?
Yeah.
It's like it'll still move.
Sure.
But the point is, so those two things are the most important thing. Now, I can already tell your engine knows where it needs to go. I call finding the pitches these gears, right? And so even as I could tell you getting up to this high A flat, it was great. This knows where it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think your engine is working a little bit too hard.
Sure. And
I think I want to just experiment with you just a little bit, is that the tongue is actually also getting in the way of you just relaxing on the exhalation.
Yeah.
Meaning that if the fuel is doing its job, this is allowed to do its job a lot easier, right?
Yeah.
So one way that we can work on that by prioritizing the fuel is just gliss through the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Can we do some of this together?
Yeah.
Let's ignore the mezzo piano. Let's just go ahead and play a nice full mezzo forte.
Okay.
And we are not going to apologize for being trombone players. So
Sure.
when there is a gliss, I encourage you, embrace it.
Okay.
Here it is, from the top. We'll
No tongue at all? Or
you can always articulate the first note of the articulation. So it's just going to be ta-ria.
Cool.
Yep. I'm a trombone player. Glisses don't offend me.
Sure.
Here it is. 1, 2. No problem, right? What I'm asking you to do is going to be a little bit different, so any mistakes or whatever, not a big deal at all. Good. Let's keep going.
Sure.
Here it is. This is mezzo forte. You can be a little bit fuller. I'm going to let you do this one by yourself just so I can hear kind of what's going on. I'm going to do something that I call singing and dancing.
Okay.
You'll see what I mean here in a second. Just keep going. And 1. Good, right? So now you're using more fuel, and so it's like we're having to move through that.
Right.
Okay, talk to me about already what the difference between where you are now versus where you started. Besides it being kind of like awkward and maybe harder because you have to fill up a little bit more.
Sure. Well, I went to the trombone festival, the Colorado Trombone Festival this year.
Yeah.
And Brian Hecht was there, and he said this really great thing about bringing your sound around the horn, like find a note that sounds really good and then bring it around the horn. And that's kind of what this feels like when you're just glissing. It's like you're taking your really centered B flat that you start on, and you just start bringing it all over the place, which is really
right. And what I think is really interesting about that, so that's really interesting, is another metaphor that I have is that you're playing, if we had the world's longest trombone, and there were no partials, it was just one giant line, there's a pedal B flat over here or something, and we'd have to run, and it'd be, and you'd bring up this whole thing.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this is.
right.
Because, when we talk about the engine and we talk about the fuel in and of itself is actually really stupid. It only knows how to do 5 things.
Right.
Do you know what those 5 things are? If I give you the first one, I bet you could. It knows to start.
This is the fuel?
The fuel. Fuel only knows how to do 5 things.
Start, go.
Start and go is going to be kind of the same thing.
Move.
What's the opposite of start?
Stop.
It knows how to stop.
Yeah.
It knows to
grow.
Grow, we're going to use the word increase.
Increase, decrease.
Therefore decrease. And the last one, if it is not increasing or decreasing, what is it doing?
Staying the same.
Staying the same. That's exactly it. That's all this is.
Mm-hmm.
That's the engine, or the fuel's job, right? So we talked about, when we're talking about the engine, the engine's job is to flip through all of these notes and change these gears, right? And so, in particular, we get this larger interval as we're going through from this B flat to this A flat, right? And oftentimes when we see something like that, that is this larger intervallic leap, we actually, it's like we're driving up a hill and we kind of let off on the gas.
Right.
Well, we might still be going forward, but it's like, it's harder to get up there versus like, no, let's go ahead and do this. So then the engine goes, that A flat becomes a piece of cake.
Right.
And your engine, again, this is why I wanted to hear you play something simpler first. I can already tell you, your engine knows what it needs to do. You've had enough experience that it's doing that. But now we're saying, okay, let's be more efficient. Let our engine kind of do its job better if we're leaning much more on this exhalation.
Right.
Yeah?
Right.
And so if we're really leaning through that, and we're playing the world's longest trombone, it would be so funny to hear this whole thing, just one giant gliss. But since we don't, these trombones, that's where the natural slur, the trombone will take care of those breaks. But when we're really glissing through it and we're moving that air, our life does become easier.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Totally.
Can we go one more time? How
Sure.
about back to 11, please? Sure. And go ahead and keep glissing. Okay, here's 1 and 2. That's awesome. Really nice, really nice. Now we're starting to really glue all of these notes together, and just it's floating, it's effortless, right? Sounds awesome.
Thanks.
So now this time I want you to keep glissing. I'm going to have you play the next phrase, but now I want you to think having much more purpose to that air, since it only knows those 5 things. Yes, we are making sure that it starts and it stays the same, but this time we can have it increase a little bit more.
Sure.
Meaning, rather than having just T, how about T,
Sure.
Here it is. Next 4 bars. Through the notes more. 1 and 2. Good for you, man. That's awesome. Okay, now we're talking. Now we're talking, because I'm getting also just the overall quality and resonance of your sound. You came in, you sounded good. I was like, oh yeah, this guy knows what he's doing. Now we're talking like, there's this sense of like warmth and vibrancy, especially in this upper register, that I was like, well, it was there, but not like this. Okay,
Thanks.
So now let's keep going. Let's go ahead and do 27. I want to challenge you. Keep all of your natural slurs in there as you can. So in this case, it's gonna be yeah, you know where all your natural slurs are? Yeah, I keep them so that way, even though we're adding in the tongue, does our air know if we're glissing or using our tongue?
No.
No, it shouldn't.
Right.
Correct. It thinks it's still glissing. So in fact, for me, trombone player, I'd rather hear you gliss accidentally while keeping good gliss air than back off on the fuel.
Right.
Okay? Because if we back off just a little bit, you're still going to be a fine player, but we just established you're capable of this.
Right.
Right? And so if you can do this, it's like, well, now that I know you can, I'm going to want it all the time now. Okay? Pick up to 27 and go ahead and take out just the gliss. Here's 2 beats. Even warmer here, mezzo forte. 1 and 2. And it's a little faster, right? Through. It's still glissier. You're still leaning on it. Your engine is relaxed as you're going through this. We're starting to get a little louder as we go through. Yum, place. T-ta-ta-ta. Nice. T-ta-ta-ti-ya-ti. Through and boom. Boom. Fantastic. Also, why this is so important, having this kind of glissed air, and we didn't even talk about it. When you saw, we got to bar, what is that, 35? 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. This is the first time there are no slurs on that.
Right.
And so now you get to make this really nice distinction between ti-ta-ti, ti-ta-tam, and the cleanliness of your articulation was really nice. In fact, you do it the way that I like to do it. I like to call these individual air events, meaning that there's a brick of air on every single one of these notes, and it doesn't share. Yeah. And that cleans up that articulation. Ti-ta-ta, ti-ta-tam. Which is really nice, because then look what he does next. Ta-ti-ta-ti-ya-ti-ya-ta. And then it puts this excellent articulation on that.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thoughts on any of that?
It's great. Yeah. It really feels like that just opens things up and makes things, like, simplifies them as well as opens the sound up a lot and makes the line feel more obvious too. The melodic line and how I'm supposed to be phrasing everything, just when I'm not focused on notes as much as just kind of horizontal direction.
Right. Well, and what's really interesting, did we have to talk about notes at all?
No. Yeah.
So do you think maybe it's time to move on from that concern?
Hopefully.
You see what I mean?
I think so, yeah.
It's like if you missed a note, I mean, like, you obviously know the piece well enough.
Right.
Like, if you missed a note, we could address it. We didn't need to.
Right.
And so it's almost like, one thing that I think is particularly challenging as we develop is, and become our own teachers, right? Like, so you said it's a couple years since you graduated?
Yeah, like 3 years.
3 years?
Just under, 2.5.
And is this the first lesson since your previous? Okay. Yeah. So what's interesting about that concept is that up until that point, your entire life had been school.
Right.
Right? You've been going to school and you've been doing the homework and seeking the approval like throughout your entire process. And so it's very difficult because guess what? You learned to do that, right? Is that you only get that validation and approval if it's received from somebody else. Right. And so especially as we practice these things, we're like, you know, we're our own worst critics. Yeah. We play something and we go, well, of course it can't be good enough yet. Like, I haven't done my 10,000 hours, or I haven't won the job, or like, but obviously there's a lot of good stuff in your playing, obviously. And so it's necessary for us to be able to recognize that and go, no, that actually sounded pretty good. Does that mean that, like, I mentioned your pitch was really nice. Was it perfect? Maybe not, but it was pretty good. We didn't have to talk about it. Right. Does that mean that you'll never work on pitch? Right. Because I said your pitch was good? No, we'll work on pitch. Right. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, it's a weird concept of trying to learn to be aware of what you're thinking when you're thinking it. Yeah. And then being able to say, well, I'm worried about notes. But your notes are good. Software engineer, right? Yeah. We have limited valuable RAM space up here. Right. And if we're preoccupied and we don't clear that every once in a while, it's just going to be stuck there. Right. And then you go and you reboot and you go to practice this. It thinks that you have to do this task that you've already completed a long time ago. Right? So, yeah, it's almost like... And so that's kind of what I did with you here. Right? Yeah. And that's why, by the way, that's why the singing and dancing is involved. Is because... Which is weird. Like, I mean, we've met before, but this is like the first time we've really spent some time together. Right. It's like, did you play better as I'm kind of like making these gestures and singing? It's like, why? Right. Yeah. Actually, why? Like, why do you think?
Visualization of, maybe the answer you're looking for is it's like a new thing.
Maybe, you know, or it's like actually a genuine question. Like, I want to know what you think.
Probably like one of the things is that it's a new new space and new like visual accompaniment to this, so I'm in like a different headspace while I'm playing this, and
Right.
I can't revert to like, you know, playing this in my apartment or something. But also like having a visual cue almost of you know how things are moving, or visual and auditory cue of
For
how
sure.
things are moving. Because I like if you're playing this piece with a piano, you're going to play it differently than if you're playing it with a band. And
Yeah, presumably.
if I'm playing it by myself, I'm going to play it differently if someone's singing along with it.
I think you're correct on all those things, and I think it's also just an intentional redirection of your attention.
Yeah.
Right? Even that, like, there's things that we could continue to work on, you know, on any one of these aspects.
Right.
But the point was for you to, it's like, no, starting to show you this is where I want you to focus.
Yeah.
And if you have, again, like we said, if you have this destination in mind, then the path is laid clear.
Sure.
And so if we're talking about what this destination is, what is it that we're working on? And I think while the RAM space was full, you were like notes and rhythms.
Yeah.
But we didn't realize that we had achieved that destination.
Right.
And so it's like, now I wanted you to have this much more and so it comes up with a path, and it's like, well, let's start glistening through it.
Yeah.
Then once we started having really on the air, then we started to clean up this good product and improvement that we just had.
Mm-hmm.
You okay with cats, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh,
This is Bonks, by the way.
Bonks?
Bonks. Bonx.
Aww.
He's my practice pal. He'll probably hang out with us for just a little bit.
Wonderful.
Hey, bud. And then we start putting on layers. And by the way, while we were doing that, evaluating if this is our goal, are you able to achieve that? And when you have, at least to a degree that we can start to retain it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, was it perfect? Maybe not, but it definitely was better. And so then we start saying, all right, well, let's add this next layer onto that, and then this next layer onto that.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than we could have started at the top, and I said, I need you to do this, 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 and this, right? And it's like,
right, too much.
And even if you improved any of them, they're going to be like,
right,
there's no retention there,
right?
You know, we got to make sure we have a very tangible process towards improvement on these things.
Yeah,
that sounded great.
Thanks.
And by the way, that was really fun. Like, just getting to hear you play and hear your sound start to go like that, it's like, oh, come on, that's what we're talking about.
It feels good to be
Yeah.
have a lesson with someone and have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's awesome. Let's play some, what's next? What would you like to work?
I have them in, where did they go?
Tuba Mirum.
Yeah, Tuba Mirum, then
Hungarian March, and Ride.
then, yeah.
Okay.
I'll do Tuba Mirum first.
Sure.
Close at the end. I wasn't quite happy with that, but it's close.
It's pretty good.
Thanks.
It's there's a lot of things going on in this excerpt in particular that I think that we learn incorrectly in the beginning.
Yeah.
About this excerpt, meaning that we're taught that it is the most it's the most important excerpt because it's going to be asked on every audition, right? And maybe we're not taught it, but we're allowed to believe that it's like this grand thing.
Yeah.
And it's like perfection must be achieved.
Right.
And while the sentiment is it is true, it's going to be asked on every audition because it's super revealing. Right? Yeah. It tells you everything you need to know at the beginning. If we went back to a time when you were maybe in high school or early undergrad, when you hadn't really started working on this, and you looked at that, you'd look at it and go,
right,
I can play this.
Yeah.
And the idea is that is true. It's just there's something about the gravitas of what this is, and even in the context of even the Requiem itself.
Yeah.
I mean, the Tuba Mirum, it is a very important excerpt. So I'm not trying to belittle it by any means, but in terms of its simplicity of its execution, this is easier for you than you even want to allow yourself.
Totally. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And also for me too, man, excerpt baggage is a thing.
Yeah.
It is a thing.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to start to unload those types of things. So for you, I heard that in particular because actually some really good stuff. But as we started getting to the end, we definitely got a little bit of this, right? And so that idea of like, because you started to realize, it's not perfect, right? And then like, or we missed something, or something didn't go the way that we wanted, and so then we start looking at that, and I call this, the syndrome of don't think about zebras. I just told you not to.
Right.
Why are you thinking about the horses with the stripes? And why are you thinking that it's even weird that I brought up and said that word in this lesson? I told you not to do it. Right. And so that's very much the case as we're going through these things. Is we go, that note didn't speak very well. Didn't speak very well. Right. And so then it's almost like you manifest it into being as you go through these things.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and let's make your life easier. Let's work on some stuff. Let's work on it in reverse order.
Sure.
And let's list this.
Sure.
Okay? The goal is for this to be easy for you.
Good.
Gliss. Here it is. 2, 3, 4, 1. I need it to be 15% easier. In fact, can we be more obnoxiously trombone-y?
Yeah.
I'll show you what I mean. Let's go ahead and let's lean into it even more. 3, 4, 1. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that idea is that if we can do, that's why we picked up the instrument or the first time, right? The first thing we did. That is easy for us to do. And so when we learn, we remind ourselves, kind of connect ourselves to that level of simplicity. Suddenly that feels simpler, right?
Yeah.
You do it one more time with me?
Sure.
Okay, you were still apologizing this much for being a trombone player.
Okay.
Okay, 2, 3, 4. Now let's immediately go ahead and let's clean up. Obviously, we're not going to play it that way. The whole point is to clear this RAM space, and so that we can start having that simplicity and ease.
Yeah.
Good. So now let's go ahead and play it nice and clean. Keep all of your articulations there, but maintain the feeling of the simplicity in the execution.
Sure.
Keep all of your all of your natural slurs to the best of your ability. 2, 3, 4, 1. Fantastic. Now that we're starting to play the trombone better, the relaxation is there and the fuel is there. Let's go ahead and talk about some musical interpretation things. The phrase does not end on the last note. That is not the cadence. Do you know where the cadence is?
Of this phrase?
Yes, of that phrase.
The phrase ends on the last note of the bar before, right?
What pitch is that?
The E
I'm not
natural.
Looking at it. It's right here. So we're moving through all of these notes. So there is we want to arrive on that A natural. That's where we actually cadence.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So everything is going to that point, and then we're going to go ahead and do this nice diminuendo coming away from that. Okay. Now, so for this first part, let's go ahead and let's lean into this chromaticism a little bit more. Ba dee da dee ya da ya dee ya ba. That's why that A natural is so important.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I hear this piece, I hear the tenor coming in on that last note. So I've always heard it going into that rather than coming away from it.
Correct. And the reason why that doesn't work is because the tenor comes in. Right? So think about what are the separation of these two roles, even musically from the bass to the tenor.
Mm-hmm.
Even just think about just like what qualities are they trying to establish here? Tuba. This has got this like reverence, this nobility behind it.
Right.
When the tenor comes in, I think it's something different.
Yeah.
There's this passion that's behind it. If we allude into it, that is a very romantic gesture, meaning that it brings the audience along.
Right.
And this is a very classical gesture, which is Mozart.
Sure.
Don't give it away.
Sure. Okay.
So just as a musical idea is that if we,
Absolutely.
I think you're giving it away too soon.
Sure.
Let him take care of it.
Okay.
Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. So let's go ahead and do this phrase, and let's see if we can incorporate those two types of things.
Sure.
More connection between all these notes. In the beginning, especially up to this A flat, glue that A flat to that E natural much more. Sure. If think about it, something playing on bassoon, right? It would just be like this.
Sure.
Yeah, here it is. 2, 3, and 4, and 1. Yeah, that might be a little too much.
Sure. Yeah.
But now what's really cool is that we've started establishing these different boundaries, even musically, and saying, well, oh no, that was too far. Okay, I'm going to bring that right back over here.
Yeah.
That's cool. And that's because we cleared up that RAM space of like, it's the Tuba Mirum.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Good, let's back up.
Sure.
This is a very Mozart, like T-I-E-A-dam.
Sure.
Yeah, so go ahead and nice firm articulation. First time I heard you play, we played, there was a little bit, I can hear that you're wanting to put articulations and breaks in the phrase actually correctly in the right spots. But the problem is that they're not relating to each other. And so the way that you do that, so I heard something like, which one was it?
Yeah.
As a gross over example, it was probably closer to this. And the way that we can do that by making sure that B flat octaves, you're correct, that becomes a 1 and 2 and you're correct. But the idea is that we need to connect to this one, so we need to lengthen that B flat.
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's go ahead and start from the F.
Sure.
Now with elongating, keep all the articulations that you had, but now this first time arrive on that Mozart loves that lick. He does it all the time. Right on the F, 2, 3, and boom. That was awesome. Cha cha. Good. I think all these chord notes can be longer.
Okay. Yeah.
One tiny little thing in terms of when you're playing these auditions, your pulse, vertically placement, it sounds really good. You can define pulse by your release.
Okay.
And actually, this is really important where we just ended, because now this counting, you probably gave me a beat and a half too long on that last one.
Yeah.
But what happens if you go, give me ba dee da dee da da. Obviously, don't release like that.
Yeah.
Dee da da. Ba dee da da.
Yep.
The pulse stays the same.
Yep.
Really nice. Good. Okay, so now let's go back to the very B flat 7 chord.
Sure.
Now I'm giving these. I'm giving grander gestures to show you where I want to go, but we definitely don't want this in the romantic era. Right. This is very much in the posh, right? The wigs. So everything is poco, but we can go ahead and lean into it this way. Okay. Hey, B flat. We're going up through the A flat to the G natural. All this, that's fine. This is the note that I care about right now.
Gotcha.
Here it is. Okay. 2, 3, and 4. Relax. Fantastic. Sans vibrato. Okay. For sure. Yep. Yeah, Mozart, no vibrato. Very good though. Everything else was awesome. Sure. Very good. Let's do that one more time. 3 and 4. Touch. Ping articulation on this next F. Ready? Nice. Same ping articulation here. And T. Touch. Still too short? Touch. Touch. Dee. Dump. Bing. Bum. Okay, now we're talking. Yeah. With this focus on these other types of things, you are actually playing the trombone better than when you were concerned much more about the trombone itself. Right. Yeah, that's a very different thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So good for you. All right. So the beginning of this, we got this last little thing.
Yep.
This is a declamatory statement. Can you tell me anything about this and where it fits in the Requiem?
Trumpet. It's like the second movement. So, in the Tuba Mirum is the Call of the Trumpets, right?
Yes. So specifically, do you know what movement is right before this? Right. That's all right. The DAC ray.
Okay.
So we've got DAC ray. I mean, and it is like, it's the apocalypse, right? Yeah. I mean, it's just the damnation of all mankind and everything like that. And God, this is one of my favorite pieces, especially because the end of the Dies Irae is like rock and roll. It's like right, and then it just like you just told everybody, it's like, I got some bad news for you, and then what clears the air? Right. And this is a call to prayer and repentance. Okay. Tuba. And so the way that we captivate that reverence in a musical style is making sure that all of these notes sound as identical and as pure as possible. Ti, to, same. Sure. In fact, I'm going to show you how easy this is that we're going to just practice making sure that our air is doing its job. Will you just move your air with me? Watch how easy this is for you. 2, 3, and... Fantastic. And now they have a little bit more shape. I heard a little bit, if I'm being picky with you. Imagine what this would sound like in my trombone. Notice how I send my air out. It's gonna have a little bit of a shape down like this, but then each one of them is going to be separated with their, as I use my fancy words, those individual air bands again. 2, 3, and go. Now we're talking. So now let's see if we can place that exact air on the horn.
Sure.
I play with you so that you can go ahead and focus on making sure that the air is doing its exact same thing. If we're out of tune, that's not why we're doing this. If we miss a note, that's not why we're doing this. If you miss every note, that's fine. But see if you can be focused. Go ahead and choose to establish the air that you just did. Goodness. 1, 2, Let's have have it be now on purpose.
Yep.
12% easier. Because that was correct. But now I just want it to be simpler now that we got the first one out of the way. 1, 2, 3. And one more time. 1, 2, 3. Everything that we work on, like, there's never a point. It's the blessing and the curse of what we do, right? There's never a point when we're done working on any of it.
Absolutely.
It really is both equally a blessing and a curse, isn't it?
Yeah. Right.
But being able to start to identify, it's like, well, what am I trying to fix? Again, this idea, destination here.
Right.
The problem is that, you have the wherewithal to understand, to be able to identify that. But when it comes to trombone, you haven't necessarily given yourself the permission to say, I'm just thinking about notes.
Yeah.
Or slide position or something like that.
Right.
And it's like, well, challenge that idea.
Totally.
Because then it does free up the opportunity to focus on something else.
Yeah.
And don't feel like it's kind of like whenever we have just like this problem that is just like taking up all of our everything in our minds when something's going on in life. It's like, well, you can take that problem and say, don't worry, you'll have it back. Like, you can have it back, but for right now, I'm going to choose to do this.
Yeah.
Oh, good, my problem's still there, right? It's like, but I'm gonna do this kind of stuff. And yeah, we'll always work on notes. We'll work on all kinds of stuff. But for the time being, I'm gonna focus on this. And what's really cool for you is that as we started to unravel a lot of those layers, some of those other concerns, they actually were inherently improved.
Yeah.
And we didn't even talk about them.
Totally.
Right? So, really cool stuff. I got 5 minutes. I unfortunately have to have a hard stop today. But what would you like to do for the last 5?
Probably March.
Okay. Awesome. Go for it. Good stuff. You play the trombone well. There's some good things. We need your life to be easier.
Yeah. Yeah. This one is a constant fight for that, I think
even in just these like quick few minutes, we're gonna show you just a way that I'd encourage you to practice this one.
Sure.
A couple things that you should do first is, again, I have my students and I personally practice my air away from the horn a lot. Because what I want you to notice, and the reason why we started with that with the tuba Mirum, and we're going to do that here, is, again, this is easy. In fact, we're only going to do that much. And making sure that the quality of each one of these individual air vents is of the highest and utmost important, but also consistent. In fact, will you do that with me? Right, and go. And I want you to use 10% more air and see if you can make sure, even on this, listen to how there's still shape. I hear a little bit of...
Yeah.
Okay? Sure. Keep in mind, this is musical, so we want to hear beat-a-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum.
Yeah.
Beat-a-dum, and this is the downbeat. It's not ba-da-dum, ba-dum. Sure. Beat-a-tum, pa-tum, pa-tum. And let's go ahead and not worry about the dynamics so much.
Sure.
Here's my air. Listen to mine. Right. Now we're talking.
Yep.
Will you play just that right with me?
Yep.
Okay, insist on that same air that you just established. 2, right? And again. Good. Even easier. Ready? Good. Let's do the next one in F. Ba-ba-bum, ba-bum. Right?
Sorry.
You see what we're doing?
Yep.
Which, by the way, does your air know that it's doing different pitches?
Maybe very marginally, but not much.
Let's just go ahead and assume it doesn't. It's the engine's job. F, right? Good. E. Good. We're going to put all those back to back, and we want our goal is to make them all sound and feel identical.
Sure.
Already better, by the way. Right? Whoops, I played a wrong note. See? That even happened. But already that's good. Because you'll notice that this excerpt in particular, it's just A, B, A, B, A, B.
Yep.
And if you start saying, okay, well, I'm going to work on all of my A's at the same time and making sure that they all sound the same, let's work on all of our B's.
Sure. Yeah.
One thing that I did hear on this one a lot, I heard ba-da-da-da-da-da-dee, down. Okay?
Sure.
Ba-da-da-dee-da-da-da-down.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay? Let's see if we can make sure, even as you heard me establish my air, I want you to be very picky with me. My air does not know that I'm changing pitches. I'm going to put a little bit of emphasis on that downbeat, and then I'm going to make sure that the 2 core notes are identical.
Okay.
Here's mine. With me? Ready? And fantastic. Sometimes our slide gets in the way. I want to encourage you. I did this by this. I call this air sync play. Watch how I'm going to use the same air. I'm going to sync my slide to it. I move the slide at the same way, but my priority is still on the exhalation. Be very picky with me. And